In this unit, we'll take a look at the development of pidgins and creoles in the UK and the USA. In the UK, a creole is used, which is called London Jamaican. It originated from West Africa or the Caribbean, and it is used by the second generation of Caribbeans who immigrated to the UK. It is a combination of a form of Jamaican Creole and a non-standard form of English, which is used in England. It is also called Black Talk, National Language, or Black Slang by the local people. It is used, of course, like all other languages, it is used as a symbol of identity, not only by black children, not only by black adolescents, but also by white adolescents, which is a little strange. Perhaps the reason for this language crossing, as this phenomena is called, when a group of people use a variety of language which does not belong to them, we call it language crossing, and there can be many reasons for this language crossing. In this case, it seems that white adolescents also want to be identified or shows some closeness with hip-hop culture, which is associated with the black people. Or perhaps they want to identify themselves with the tough guy image, which is linked with, again, the black people in the UK and the USA. So we see this language crossing taking place in case of London Jamaican in England, where white adolescents also try and use or want to use London Jamaican. This use of London Jamaican by white adolescents is an indication of what we call recreolization. Recreolization is a process in which a Creole, which has started its journey towards a standard form of the language, retraces its steps and moves back towards the more Creole end of our continuum. We have something called Creole continuum or post-Creole continuum in social linguistics again. Post-Creole continuum is a situation where a Creole language is presented as or is presented on a continuum with a spectrum of varieties. In other words, a post-Creole continuum or a Creole continuum is a dialect continuum. Is a continuum which shows different dialects on a continuum, let's say. So we have standard or acrolect, which is the standard form of our language. And then at one end we have acrolect and at the other end we have basilect, which means a language which doesn't have that much prestige, which is very different from the standard language, which is actually a form of a pidgin or a creole. And in the middle we have what we call mesolect, which means that people who use this dialect mix the two different linguistic components from the two sides of the continuum. So when a pidgin is creolized, that's not the end of its journey. It continues to develop in some cases, in certain circumstances. Sometimes it moves towards the standard form of the superstate language or the language, superstate language or the language on which it is based. And sometimes, after starting its journey towards the standard form, it retraces its steps and goes again closer to the Creole end. In language crossing situation, when white adolescents show an interest in the Creole which is used by the black people, the Creole will stop moving towards the standard form of the language and will cherish the form which is becoming popular among different groups of community. Let's take a look at some of the features of London Jamaican. One prominent feature of this Creole is the interchangeable use of I and me, both for I and me. So you can use, when you want to say I am late, for example, you can say me am late or I late, both will do. Similarly, im and I are the two pronouns which are used interchangeably for he, she, his, hers, it, its, and all such pronouns. Similarly, present tense is used to indicate both present tense and past tense. So when you want to say and I said, all you have to say is and I say. So you don't worry about using the past tense in London Jamaican. Another feature is the elimination of tense suffixes. For example, ed, st. So when you want to say your breath stinks, you don't have to worry about using s with stink, or all you say is your breath stink. Negation is expressed with the use of the word no only. So when you want to defend yourself and say my breath doesn't stink, all you have to say is no breath stink. The Creole, which has reached America, is called African American Vernacular English now. It's also called Ebonics. The word Ebonics is a blend of the word ebony, which means black, and phonics, which means sound. Although African American English is used by a large number of African Americans, it is still considered improper language by majority of American citizens, but it is used with pride and considered a symbol of linguistic and social identity by African Americans. Some linguistic features of Ebonics or African American English include the habitual use of be for intermittent activity. Example, when you want to say sometimes my ears itch, you would rather say sometimes my ears be itching. Another feature is the absence of copula in contracted forms of is and are. When you want to say she's nice, all you say is she nice. Another feature is the elimination of s in the present tense third person. So she walks will become she walk only. Another very popular feature of Ebonics is the use of ain't for didn't. This use is very popular all over the world, and you may have heard some Pakistanis also use it, especially those who watch a lot of Hollywood movies. So when you want to say he didn't do it, you would say he ain't do it. Another feature of Ebonics is the use of f and fa and va sound for the final tha sound. So smooth will become smooth and tooth will become tooth. What is more noticeable, or what needs to be discussed a little, is the controversy which is linked with Ebonics. This controversy started in 1996 when Oakland School Board passed a resolution according to which this was African American Vernacular English was considered as the primary language of African children. And it was suggested, or it was recommended, that this language should be used to teach them all the other subjects, including English. This resolution was passed because it was felt, actually it was the case, that African children were far behind the other children in terms of learning achievement, and they were far behind in terms of learning achievement, and they could not meet their learning goals. So this was used as a strategy to ensure that they also reach the same target levels. However, it was looked at as a separatist movement to alienate African American people and to stigmatize a variety used by disenfranchised people, etc. So much so that the Oakland School Board had to retreat, and they then passed another resolution according to which the standard American language English will be used for teaching these children as well.